Welcome back to another episode of the Corporate Cowboys podcast. My name is Alex, as always, your host. Today's proof of life. It's Tuesday, May 16, 2023. And if you're not familiar with the format of the podcast, the next 30 minutes, you'll be treated to a free Corporate Cowboys consult. So, if you are in a position where you feel you need some perspective, contemplating your entry or your navigation through corporate, climbing up the ladder, lateraling to another department or a completely different organization, making your next move to get noticed, or maybe you don't want to get noticed and still make moves. That's what we're in the line of business of doing. That's the line of business that we transact on a day-to-day. So you can find us on Instagram, follow us, shoot us a DM. That's at Corporate Cowboys with a Z at the end. On Patreon, you can subscribe to any one of the tiers that are available there. That's the Corporate Cowboys podcast, and you can find the podcast any number of places where they are distributed. Follow us on YouTube or on Rumble, I think. I'm not sure if it's being maintained. Otherwise, you want to send a donation to keep this podcast free, by all means do that. There are a couple of links that are floating around. So, this podcast helps you and me, right? Because it allows my partners and I, my associates and I, the opportunity to think through real life scenarios, right? So simulated problems, if you will. So the questions that we compile, we pull them from online and try to answer them using the facts that were provided. Granted that we don't have real life clients in front of us, so any notes that we take, right, any notes that we mention, those are points that you might want to take down. Those are points that you might want to keep track of. Questions and considerations to pose to yourself. You could ask yourself, ask your managers, ask your employer these questions that will help you on your path of professional development. Today's question comes from r/find a path. And they're saying, I don't want an okay job. I don't want an okay job. Okay. Why not? They flared it for advice. So they're asking for advice. They're saying, hi. I'll just start reading it here. I mean, after all, the podcast serves as a way for me to practice also my skills for verbal communication and mental organization, all the while sneak in a couple of reps, dry firing. So they're saying, I don't want an okay job, right? They start with, hi, please tell me if I'm out of my gourd here, if they're out of their mind, if they're fucking crazy, if they're not being reasonable, if they are unrealistic. Please tell me if I'm out of my gourd here. I can't seem to be understood by anyone when I try to explain this. Okay, well, let's hear it. I don't want an okay job, and the okay's in quotes. I don't want an okay job. So it sounds like they want something, what? High paying? That's where my mind goes to first. They want something high paying. So I should expect that they don't want to put in the time or the effort, the energy, the commitment. They don't want to commit to something. All right. Or they don't want an okay job, just something that gets them from check to check. Maybe they want that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. I don't know. We'll see. So they start with, I can't seem to be understood by anyone when I try to explain this. I, 28, they don't put a sex or a gender. I, 28, am in the process of looking for a job / possible career / path. And I'm really struggling because I can't make a decision. The only thing I have realized is that I want to do something I'm passionate about. And in parentheses, they put creative. Man, I remember when I was in my mid-20s, I was in a similar boat. I mean, this person already sounds, I'm not going to say young, maybe inexperienced. They sound idealistic, if you will, when they should be moving realistically. And realistically, statistically speaking, realistically, a lot of folks get a job that pays the bills first, and then they pursue their passions off the clock. Unless your passion is corporate, then you can pursue your passions both on and off the clock. If you're moving like a corporate cowboy, that is. You can dictate your own hours, negotiate your compensation, strategize your next move for the sake of clout or authority or power, along with the salary. I mean, along with the monetary gain, right? And you can be as creative as you want in corporate. That, after all, that's how corporate remains alive. That's how corporate abides and adheres to capitalism. I mean, what we have now in terms of capitalism isn't really pure capitalism. Capitalism, in its natural state, uninhibited, unregulated, is meant to innovate, is meant to create, is meant to self-regulate. But what we have now is a lot of interventionalism, a lot of regulation and restriction, and pretty much interruption of creative processes that could self-regulate, but they don't. In the name of, I don't know, subsidization, in the name of, under the guise of protectionism, under the guise of national security. Fuck out of here, man. They're just, never mind. I'm going off on a tangent. So I, 28, am in the process of looking for a job / possible career / path. And am really struggling because I can't make a decision. The only thing I've realized is that I want to do something I'm passionate about, creative, in parentheses. I don't really care for money as long as I can get a small place for myself. Whenever I try to explain this to people, whether it's my dad or the employment office, okay, I see what's going on here. They're not hungry. They are literally not going hungry. I mean, I'm not saying they should, right? But got to understand that if you don't have an immediate need, right, it's going to be a little hard to innovate. They say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And if you don't really need anything, all you have time is to think creatively. And if you're wasting it or burning it, and you're still not going hungry because you've got the unemployment office to thank for those distributions, for those checks that are coming to you, if you have them to thank for it, you're not going to be in any real rush to get back in the game and work for your worth. So I could definitely see this sense of entitlement growing or manifesting itself because, I mean, you've been living on the government for a little while or for who knows how long. And now that you're considering, contemplating. It's as if you're bored of living on the government's check. It's as if you're bored of living on the check. Now you want to enter the workplace and you want to do something creative. Fam, I mean, work is work first. You have to appreciate. You have to appreciate the work. You have to appreciate the fact you get to wake up to go work and can be productive, can do something worthwhile with your time to make money. Then off of the back of your work ethic is how you can negotiate how much your work is actually worth. Otherwise, you could easily do something highly technical of high utility that's worth a lot, but if you don't know how to appreciate the work, you won't know how to negotiate your worth. You could sell yourself short. And I suppose because you're not really hungry, you're not really going for, what's the term I'm looking for? You're not really going in need. You're not really in need of a job. That's why you believe that you deserve more than just a job. Notice how I'm not even qualifying it as an okay job. You say you don't care about money, but what, are you going to pick up a shit job and continue living off of the government if that's what you want to do? You can be creative as a door greeter, as at the large corporation with the blue yellow background and the star. I know you know which one I'm talking about. You could be a door greeter, a receipt checker, and you can be as creative as you possibly want. Try and strike up a conversation with every customer that walks in or walks out. There's creativity there. You think you can be creative of it? You think you can be creative enough to garner some tips? Maybe you get some tips on the way out just for having checked receipts. Shit, that's a challenge in and of itself. Or is it a challenge you don't want? See? Because even being creative is challenging. You need some sort of metric, some sort of benchmark, some sort of measurement to know that you are being creative, more creative than you were in the past. It's a way of measuring your progress and ultimately, peep game, your professional development. You like that? How it comes back around, how it comes full circle to moving like a corporate cowboy. Let's read what the rest of they got to say here. They say, whenever I try to explain this to people, whether it's my dad or the employment office people, or even when I look this up on Reddit, I'm told that I should try to find a job, quote, I don't hate, or quote, that I like. That is probably the best option I have. Lots of people say that making it your job will kill your passion, etc. Making your passion your job. I mean, I'm going to be facetious here. I'm going to make a joke and say that my passion is corporate and my job is corporate. And if I'm killing my passion, I'm necessarily killing the fucking game. I'm just killing shit out here. And I'm making a killing doing it. I do know. I'm not going to say I don't know. I do know. It just requires some time to contemplate, to deliberate what questions we would ask this hypothetical client. I mean, if we took them in on an intake and asked them questions as far as their interests, obviously we want to know if they have or what their educational background is, what their working experience is, what they've done in the past, and what exactly, this is key, what exactly they consider to be creative. Because one person's creativity Might be another person's mundane or routine, right? So we want to be sure that this person's creative energies are at least directed, oriented in a way that allows for development, their own personal development, to at least bring them up to speed on the rest of the corporate world, and then their professional development, so that they're able, if they are so inclined, if they are willing to spearhead some initiatives of their own. Any job that you get into, yeah, I think creativity is necessary in today's day and age. I think it requires creativity to be a good service person in customer service, to be a good salesperson working in sales, to be a good manager working in management, to be a good leader working in leadership or directorship, an executive. It requires creativity. Otherwise, you're going to disappoint yourself with the lack of innovation and the lack of creativity. You're going to age yourself out prematurely. You'll paint yourself into a corner prematurely. And they say, they finish off here, this is the last couple of sentences. They say, that's probably the best option I have. Lots of people say that making it your job will kill your passion. Making your passion your job, no, it won't. It won't. I think not advancing in your passion. If you make your passion your job, that necessarily means you're working on your passion. Why would your passion stop being your passion? I get and understand that you could burn out if you're working 40, 60, maybe 80 hours a week. It's understandable that you might start running thin, you might start running ragged, especially if you're sacrificing on the nutritional and recovery fronts. If you're not eating right, if you're not sleeping right, that begins to add up. And you notice the difference in your performance. You notice the difference in your capability and your effectiveness throughout your working day. A professional notices. These are things you want to keep track of. You are an adult after all. 28 years old, but still an adult. I mean, and it could be the fact that maybe you've been on the government teat for a while. So that kind of, that safety net there, sure, we're blessed to have it if you should take advantage of it. But then the moment you become complacent with the idea that it will be there, or the moment that you become complacent and are not bettering yourself, are not exploring your own creativity while you can, to me tells me that you're not taking your own career search seriously. I mean, if creative is what you want to do, then creative is what you should be doing. If creative is what you want to be, then creative is what you should be doing. Something creative. If creative is what you want to be, then doing something creative, then creating, I guess. Creating is what you should be doing. Even if that's creating connections mentally, neurologically, reading, by picking up a book. Again, we don't know to what degree this person is talking about creativity. Is it mentally? Is it socially? Is it artistically? Is it physically? Kinesthetically? We don't fucking know. That being said, those are questions that we would ask this hypothetical client of ours so that they can inform their next logical step in pursuing, whether it's a job or a professional interest, and begin making moves toward obtaining a position, a spot, and starting a career in what it is they want to be doing. Continuing here. They continue, but I don't want to feel mid about my job. All right, so this person speaks like they're young. They're 28. So they've definitely taken to the slang. Maybe they spend a fuck ton of time on Reddit. Maybe they should reconsider that. Maybe it's helping them. Maybe they've got so much creativity. They're oozing it at the seams. They're boiling over with creativity and have come to Reddit and asked for the advice. Which again, I don't take everything that I read through these posts on face value. I definitely do try to draw some reasonable inferences for the most part, and sometimes I'll go off on tangents, on possible absolutes, possible end conclusions. Am I jumping to conclusions? No. I'm not giving any definitive answers, any specific advice, which is, again, a disclaimer. If you haven't retained us, none of what we publish across our social media platforms should be construed as legal advice. We do not promote or advocate for any wrongful activity or any wrongdoing. So take anything that you hear with a grain of salt. They say, from previous experience, they continue, I know I only have so much energy. So if I put it into my job, I don't have it for anything else in my life. So I want a job that fulfills me. But it feels like everybody thinks this is unrealistic. I feel very alone in this. What do you think? They only have so much energy to work or to create. See what I did there? But you're going to get tired of your passion that fast. You're going to get tired of being creative, even on the job, even on the clock. Nah, man. Creativity is, again, creativity comes from hunger. You have to want it. You have to really want it. It's a state of mind. I mean, necessity being the mother of all invention should put you should keep you on your toes. Otherwise, you'll be on your heels all the time. You've got to be aware. You've got to be anticipating. You've got to be expecting change and innovation. And you should be speculating on your own abilities, prospecting possible changes, possible outcomes, given your ability and your capabilities. They're not much younger than I am, and I'm not saying I'm losing faith in the youth, because there are a lot of young people who have great ideas on what to do and how to pursue those ideas. But it is a little disheartening when younger people are on some sort of government benefit or on some sort of fixed state, fixed position. And it could have to do with their lack of awareness to recognize their own circumstances, their own lack of professionalism. Maybe they don't have the adequate skills to get a a job in what they want to be doing, in what they consider to be creative, in quotes. So those are definitely questions I would ask the client to be sure that any opinion, any strategy that I create for them is going to be tailored to the creative components that they want to cultivate in their own career, right? It could be working with people. It could be working with products. It could be working with systems. And here we come full circle again. If you want to move like a corporate cowboy, you will have to learn. You must learn how to work with corporate so that you don't end up just working for them. That's a passion of mine. It's a passion of mine. Is exercising my ability to work with corporate and empowering other corporate cowboys to work for themselves, but to work with corporate when necessary. See how much time I got on this one. I think I may have some time to read one or two comments. Yeah. So, all in all, the prompt on this one was very general because we didn't have much to go on. If we had the client in front of us, we definitely want to pin them down on a position, at least get their position, their argument, their consciousness pinned down on exactly what creativity means for them, along with their biographical information, their biographical history as far as their education, their experiences, their interests, their skills, their abilities, that sort of thing. And if you want to go through this, if you need some perspective, some corporate perspective, what would a corporate cowboy do? Reach out to us. Our rates are more than reasonable. After all, you are investing in yourself. So we're just helping you. We're just helping you on the cost of goods side, so that the return on investments are more easily accessible to you. You are, after all, the actor, and we're just the consultants, right? You are, after all, the professional in this particular scenario. We are consultants to professionals. The first comment here writes, there isn't much information to go on here. Yes, right. However, they write, I'd recommend you prepare yourself for a rough ride. It's hard enough finding a job that pays enough for you to live in a way that isn't paycheck to paycheck. And if you're looking for something specific and creative, it's likely going to be significantly harder. As long as you are okay with applying to thousands of jobs and potentially failing in the end, then it'll be worth it. That being said, nothing is impossible, and you could likely find something that is adjacent to your creative interests that is more mainstream. Good luck. It's a rough ride if you want it to be. And again, because we're not able to pin down the client's interests and unique abilities, because everybody's case is unique, especially when it comes to their relation to corporate, right? They could be entry level, they could be at the executive level. For all we know, this person has managerial experience, but the organizations they've worked in before, and I'm being generous here by saying organizations, maybe their past employer didn't have the resources available or the systems available for them to develop professionally. And the reality check of that was that as a professional, we are responsible for our own professional development. And if those systems are not in place when we go into an organization, then it might it might be on us. It might befall us to take on that initiative and set up a system in place, if not for our sake, but for our subordinates. That's if you are a leader at heart, right? Otherwise, look out for yourself. You're in corporate after all. It's do or be done. It's a do or die out here, even in management, even as a leader. You could have some ungrateful colleagues, some ungrateful subordinates. Skullduggery is abound, and there's no end in sight to that form of creativity either. A second comment here says, my stepbrother is into welding and art. My stepbrother was into welding and art in high school, so he found an apprenticeship with a local sculpture artist where he got to do a lot of construction on large-scale sculptures. If that's what you mean, you see, they're right if that's what you mean, because the OP doesn't even know what the fuck they want, right? They're living check to check, getting EBT probably, so it's not like they're in any dire need and have a creative skill that they could make money on. Otherwise, they would have told us that first, and they would have been applying to jobs in that particular area of interest, in that particular area as a strength. If they haven't been, or they don't know that that's how they should be prioritizing a job search, especially if they want to work in something that they are comfortable with creatively, that's how you prioritize your job search. First, further build out and hone your creative skill set, and then apply to work from there. If you haven't held a position using that ability, more than likely it's going to be entry level, right? And that is a job. But whether or not the hypothetical client here is going to classify as that as an okay job or not a job they want, well, then that's just fucking personal prerogative, right? They are in no real position to be negotiating unless they've got the talent and the ability and the capability to back it up. An okay job. I've said it time and time again, and that's a major theme of the podcast, is that every job is entry level. Everyone is entry level forever. Even the CEO, even the one at the top of the pyramid, can get knocked off tomorrow. And it's as if they never worked there. Create a power vacuum. They become nameless. Well, they might name like a wing or the break room after them. Hey, I'll see you in the Alex room. It's just a conference room with a oblong table. All right. One last comment, then I'll let you go. It says, oh, this is perfect. They write, I don't want okay food either, but I also don't want to starve. So, and because this person obviously isn't starving, right? They're getting government money, so they're getting fed. They don't have that hunger. There was a time when I was younger, and I think it comes with conditioning, with socialization. It's just how we sharpen our professional skills, where I was going hungry. I was living check to check and a little bit less. So it was low key, actually kind of high key, living on credit. So at least on paper, right? On the books, legally. And that hunger is what pushed me to advance, to move further up into corporate, to learn what it took to be promoted, to move up, make more money. And I've mentioned it before, and it's a long story, but long story short, I had to take the initiative myself to promote myself. Because if I had waited, I mean, I was entry level and one of the youngest. If I had waited and corporate just operated like it normally did, a lot of positions in corporate, especially when it's very much running on status quo, it's based on seniority. It's just the people who are there the longest are just next in line for a promotion. I figured, fuck that. I'm cutting lines. I'm taking the initiative. I'm gonna be creative with my professional development. And then you ask yourself what a corporate cowboy would do. We work creatively within corporate to make money, make a killing. I'll catch you next time.